Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Amin bin Sulaiman. So today our group will present on one of the Muslim nations, which is Bangladesh. Right, this introduction. We're going to discuss on this part about the Bangladesh, and we divide it into three. So basically, Bangladesh, before they got the name of Bangladesh, we call it as a Bengal, not as a Bangladesh. Let's proceed to the next point, which is colonialism history of Bengal. Alright, this is the colonialism history of Bengal. It started in 1650 when the British East India Company established a factory on the Hooghly River in Bengal. And later in 1690, they founded the city of Calcutta. In the beginning, they just want to seek for trade under the concern of Mughal governor, but because of the collapse of Mughal Empire, they took direct involvement in politics and military activities. They ultimately rose to supremacy through military expeditions, annexation, bribery, and playing one party off against another. Siraj-ud-Daulah, who was the governor of Bengal, unwisely provoked a military confrontation with the British at Plassey in 1757, who was defeated by Robert Clive, a young officer of British East India Company. Clive's victory later was consolidated in 1764 at the Battle of Busa, where he defeated the Mughal Empire. What happened later, they got the title of Diwan, which is the collector of revenue in the areas of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. Later, British power was unchallengeable and the control extended into other territories by 1850s. Right, here is the idea of nationalism emerged during the colonial rule of British. The idea of nationalism actually emerged among Bangladesh before 1947, and during this time, the base was anti-colonialism sentiment which opposed the British ruler. Many writers, they are such as Saras Chandra, Rabindranath Tagore, Kaji Nazrul Islam, opposed the British. Besides, there was a severe movement which due to dividing Bengal, where this event gathered Bengali people under the same flag to keep Bengal province secure. After the birth of Pakistan, East Bengali people expected a change. However, what they saw was the oppressors among elites in West Pakistan, and this include a political, financial exploitations and suppressions of the Bengali identity. Because of this, many protests happened led by students. What happened later was the student rose the language movement 1952, which I will explain later, and this was led by AWAMI Muslim League, which is by Mujibur Rahman. Lastly, this idea brought to the Bangladesh Liberation War and independence of Bangladesh from Pakistan. Here's the role of Awami League. The leader was a Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and this political party discussed the political and economic factors which caused the emergence of nationalism among Bengali people. The leader played his important role in getting independence from West Pakistan. Awami League really played the important role for the emergence of Bangladesh in 1971. Pakistan was created in the name of Islam, but the problem here was from the ruling elites, which they used political slogan to subjugate Bengali Muslims. So they rose the operations to the ruler of West Pakistan. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and its 6 points represented the aspiration of Bengalis, and this point agenda was to realize the 6 demands from Bengali people to end the exploitation of East Pakistan by West Pakistan rulers. And the purpose here, we can see that the Awami League wanted to establish balanced power between East and West Pakistan. Right, next. The Bengali language movement 1952 was a political effort in East Pakistan to recognize Bengali language as an official language in Pakistan. Why? It is because the recognition would allow Bengali language being used in government affairs. And the movement started when Pakistan was formed and Urdu as the national language. And during the formation of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was the leader of West Pakistan, declared that Urdu and only Urdu will remain as official language. This led to the protests among Bengali-speaking majority in East Pakistan. Due to this tension, the government in East Pakistan outlawed public meetings and gatherings. Defying this, the students of Dhaka University and the other political activists started a protest on 21st February, and the protest became worse when the police opened fire towards the students. The deaths brought towards the riot led by Bengali political party, which is Awami League. And later, after years of conflict, the central government surrendered and granted official status to Bengal language in 1956. Right now we go to the Bangladesh Liberation War. It was an armed conflict sparked by the rise of the Bengali nationalists. It happened after the Awami League won a majority in first general election in Pakistan, and the government in West Pakistan refused to recognize the result, and this led to the riot. The war began after the Pakistan military base in West Pakistan launched Operation Searchlight in 1971. It was planned military operation carried by Pakistan Army to the Bengali nationalists. Bangladesh forces were divided in the geographical areas of Bangladesh into 11 sectors, and war strategy included a huge guerrilla force operation inside Bangladesh. They secured control of most part of the countryside. Bengali won the war as they got the support from the Indian military. Now we go to the historical timeline of how the Bangladesh got the independence. Starting from the 15 August 1947, where India and Pakistan become two independent states. In 1948, the students made a protest on the exclusion of Bengali as an official language. In the same year, the governor of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, declared that Urdu and only Urdu will remain as official language, as I mentioned before. In 1949, we have the formation of Awami Muslim League. In 1952, Bengali language movement reached its peak when the police opened fire to the students, and this when Awami Muslim League involved in the Bangladesh Bengali language movement. Finally, in 1956, the Bengali language became one of the state language in Pakistan. Later, in 1966, the Sheikh Mujibur Rahman led the Six-Point Bengali Nationalist Movement, which wanted to get a balanced power between East and West Pakistan. In 6 December 1970, the first general election and Awami League won a majority, and the government in West Pakistan refused to recognize the result and led to the riot. Later in the next year, 1971, the first hoisting of national flag of Bangladesh at the Dhaka University by Vice President of Dhaka University Students Union leader named as Abdul Rabb. In 1971, 7 March, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman made his historic freedom speech on the Declaration of Independence of Bangladesh. In 25th March, Pakistan Army launched Operation Searchlight at midnight because they refused of the independence of Bangladesh. In 1971 also, and lastly, Major Ziaur Rahman broadcast the Declaration of Independence over the radio. I think that's all for me. I will pass it to the next presenter. Thank you.
Okay, we go to the current political issues in Bangladesh. Okay, so in current political issues, I would like to bring a news that 6 orang asli activists reported died in an ambush near the Chittagong Hills. Okay, I like to share this news because this issue is related with their history, Bangladesh history. So the group who involved in this fighting was JSS rebel group, or the full name is Jan Sanati Samiti. Okay, Jan Sanati Samiti group. Okay, so this GSS is among the main rebel group in the three Chittagong Mountains district, including Bandarban. So the group fighting with the authorities since the early 1980 until a peace agreement was signed in 1997 that reported more than 2,500 people dead in that area. Although there were agreement and military personnel withdraw from the province, unrest continue as the orang asli tribe demand the closure of Bengali village and military camps there. as contained in the agreement before lah. However, in recent times, there have been division among these rebel groups and bring a fight among them that have claimed their lives. So this issue regarding to the autonomous issue between the politics parties and the right of some ethnicity in Bangladesh. The conflict was started long time ago until the agreement of Chittagong Hill was signed. But the conflict nowadays come because from the Bangladesh leaders nowadays still not respect the agreement and do not take care of the Juma peoples in Bangladesh. So that's why until today the conflict cannot be settled. So I think this is one of the current political issues in Bangladesh nowadays. Okay, so now we go to the corruption issues in Bangladesh. So there was reported around $1.5 billion worth of corruption is carried out by the political members and economic management in the country every year. Okay, this is the statement from the anti-corruption organization Transparency International. So 1.5 billions, this is almost 3% of the country's overall economic output. So Bangladesh also one of the most corrupt countries, and Bangladesh routinely in the tops the corruption perception index issued by Transparency International for every year. So the culture of corruption has taken root in Bangladesh society. Politicians takes bribe in elections, buy the vote, and do business with businessmen or with their relative. And according to Christian Werner, a South Asian expert, a culture of corruption has indeed become a daily part of the country politics. And he also said the party and the members of parliament provide their money for the development of their constituencies. This has been happening for long years. This pool of corruption is transmitted to the political system. So we can see, or we can say that Bangladesh is also one of the country that have a big problem in the corruptions.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Syahmi bin Muhammad Suhair. Okay, today I will present to you the current economy in Bangladesh. So, Bangladesh is considered to be a developing country. The gross domestic product or GDP for Bangladesh in 2018 grew to 763.99 billion international dollars, which is about 8.1%. This GDP showed an increased data for Bangladesh about 225 billion international dollar since 2014, which is about 6.06%, and the growth is expected to be continue until 2024. Statistics showed that the GDP per capita in Bangladesh is still low compared to global average economy. It has large population, which is about twice of Germany people. This resulted almost one-third of Bangladesh people live in extremely poverty. This resulted almost one-third of Bangladesh, even though this country got revenue from exporting manufactured goods and ready-made garment, unfortunately they still got problem in sustaining the country due to overpopulation, political instability, corruption, and slow economic reforms. Bangladesh is one of the poorest and crowded population in the world. The role and legal status of women has always become debate in 20 years after they gained independence from Pakistan. Women suffered to live independently due to lack of education, employment, and poverty compared to men. Apart from that, Muslim women in Bangladesh follow traditional Muslim practice by expected to stay in her home state and not giving them made a contact to anyone outside the world. This practice made them suffer from educational and social development. However, as the time continued, they slowly got the right to gain education and knowledge despite their culture still strong within them. Besides, women in Bangladesh was valued less than property and children, such as they were given to eat food the least and the last. So another common practice for them is early marriage, which statistics showed that mostly Bangladeshi women are married as early as in 15 years old. Their children also favored for the son compared to the daughter, which viewed as disappointment. Upon this discrimination, government of Bangladesh established many enactments and laws that protected women and should be treated fairly with men, such as Constitution of People's Republic of Bangladesh 1972, the Civil Procedure Code and Criminal Procedure Code, the Family Law Ordinance 1961, that focus on protecting status and the right of women in Bangladesh. Unfortunately, the custom of men valued more than women and discrimination still happen until today. So the government need to enforce the law quickly and hardly so that women will not discriminated and get some benefit from it. Okay, next we move to the condition of secularism. So same with most Muslim nation states, Bangladesh also implemented dual system of laws, which is secular civil and religious family code to their people, both Muslim and non-Muslim. So for secular civil, it was applied to all citizens, while for the religious family code, Muslim in Bangladesh follow Sharia law, and the others who mostly Hindus applied Daya Bahaga school of Hindu law. So the Constitution of 1972 recognized secularism as one of the state principles in Bangladesh. Secularism in Bangladesh is not meant to absent the religion, but religious neutrality and the absence of communalism, which very contradict to secularism in Western that denies any divine power. So however, some argues that the principle of secularism of Bangladesh not deny the religion due to some issues, particularly in Islam compared to others. For example, were the abolishment of Islamic Academy in 1972, the removal of Islamic stories in primary and secondary school, banning of Islamic politics, and etc. It showed that Islam was not favored in Bangladesh, even though considered as one of the Muslim nations in the world. The gap between secular people and secular state was clear since Bangladesh became secular state after independence. The people stay hardly attached with the secularism. Okay, next we move to the condition of democracy in Bangladesh. So in Bangladesh, the system of government implemented by them was liberal democracy. Liberal democratic government stressed on the idea of limited government, which constitution put limits to their minister, which is to exercise their power into political system. It is like liberalism strengthened the democracy, and likewise. For example, AWAMI League accepted liberal democracy as its political ideologies that resulted to be effective position during past United Pakistan, such as removing the word Muslim in their name of the party. This ideology took a very long time to develop in Bangladesh. However, it is not significantly visible in their history. This is because their political leadership somehow failed to maintain the ideology to their successors, and resulted liberalism hardly matched with democracy. Apart from it, the absence of nationalists who support this ideology made it become more worsened. In future, the connection will be ignored by some factors such as the continuation conflict between secular and Islamic values and the increase of global capitalism to sustain the development. So last but not least is the condition of human rights in Bangladesh. So in human rights, there were many issues that always become discussion among Bangladesh people and around the world. So one of it is the attack on political oppositions for students and the media. One event to be an example was happened when Bangladesh continued to suppress its people who disagree with the ruling of AWAMI League. This event involved on the political oppositions, students, school children and journalists. On the political oppositions, their leaders and the supporters were jailed, and for the cases to one of the supporter of Awami League will be dropped. So for the student who did a protest, they were attacked with stick and machetes, and the cases was overlooked by the government. Next is the woman right and legal status. Like I said before, on the previous slide, Bangladesh continues to be one of the highest rates of child marriage in the world, even though the government said to solve the problem, but there is no progress shown from that issue. Yet it become more worse when the government also failed to overcome the other issues related to women rights such as rape, sexual violence, acid attacks and domestic abuse. Last but not least, it is refugees related to about 1 million Rohingya people. So after Bangladesh failed to negotiate to Myanmar to take back its people, so Bangladesh plan to relocate them to an island in the Bay of Bengal, which is created another concern on their livelihood and their freedom.
Okay, so now we go to the index of literacy in Bangladesh. So even Bangladesh nowadays is on their way to be a modern nation, a modern country, but they still have a literacy problem. So literacy rate in Bangladesh reported is about 41%. So government doing something to make this rate decrease. So literacy rate have decreased due to many programs that been introduced by the government in the country. So among those that succeeded program were one of it is the Food for Education program, which was introduced in since 1993. This program, the government give facility to everyone to learn and to go to school and everything. So also the other program was a scholarship programs for women at primary and secondary education level. This is because in Bangladesh, in a long time ago, education suggested to men only because men will go out for work and everything. So they focusing on men to take the education program. So because of this program, because of this effort, the number of literacy was decreased in Bangladesh.
Alright, for the conclusions, we have 3 points that we want to highlight, which is a resource distribution formula. This part, the formula must be transparent and mutually agreed upon, and it must not be implemented by force in favor of any single unit. For the political stability, and this is the most important part, they need to have a good governance and it is the only way to survive as the nation state and to rise among the nations with dignity and respect. And lastly, we have a planned military options. Yet it is very important also, and it need to carefully plan and executed and must be backed by a profound political vision. I think that's all from us. Thank you for listening. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.